pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I would just like to remind everybody that there are two opportunities for you to address the board this evening. The first one, there's two sign-up sheets. There's one sheet back there to comment on our action items. And the second opportunity will be at the end of our meeting when you may share information for the board to consider or address any topic of concern. So with that, we'll move on to the agenda approval, deletions, additions. Dr. Bracco.
Thank you, Mrs. Seuss. You do have a revised agenda before you. There are some amendments to Roman numeral 7B1, Mrs. Mucha's personnel recommendations.
Move to approve.
Second.
We having a motion and a second. Any discussions? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'm gonna say, I was here at the last meeting, so I'm just going to not vote. Is that okay? Because I don't know if it's correct or not. So I don't know what, I apologize, I can't think of the word right now.
Abstain.
Abstain.
I'm so
All
sorry.
right.
I'm like, I can't.
Motion passes. And Mr. Marshall, is there any correspondence?
I have no official correspondence in front of me unless there's something that I'm not aware of.
All right. Do we have any liaison updates? Can we go through those quickly if we do?
I'll jump in right away. Under Personnel Interview Committee, there has been not inaction, there was no action, I'll put it that way. So nothing to report there.
Okay. Anybody else?
Nothing from you with Sherrville Redevelopment or Wellness Committee this time.
Nothing from the higher redevelopment.
Lake Central Education Foundation, our fundraiser is going to be selling Fannie Mae candy on Saturday, April 4th. So we hope that you will come and support our cause with your purchase of Easter candy or holiday candy of some sort. And shall I do legislative? Legislative, I have received confirmation from Chris Chung and Rick Niemeyer that we will meet with them on Monday, March 16th at 6 o'clock. And I'll be talking with Dr. Bracco to get some ideas for how we're going to handle the meeting and the agenda and everything. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
And now we'll move on to the official school board business topics consent agenda. Dr. Bracco.
Thank you again. Seek board approval for the minutes from our special meeting, which was our work session on February 17th, as well as our regular meeting on February 17th. Also seek board approval for the claims, payroll, and extracurricular expenditures you received last week in your packets.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
I would like to second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed, same sign?
Abstain.
All right, motion passes. Public comments for our action items. Ms. Linda Copeland.
Good evening. I would like to know what action would be taken for 7B. I hope it was looked into like I asked to, and if it wasn't, please, I'd like to know what you found out. Thank you.
Thank you.
We did meet with the board in executive session and share information, and the board is prepared to vote this evening.
Okay, we'll move on to official board, school board business topics, regular agenda. Dr. Bracco.
Thank you. Our first item is to do some recognitions of all-state honor bands. And so I think we'll begin with Mr. Freeman and Mr. Elliott and any other high school folks who are here. We'll go with them first, which is Honor Band and Handbell Choir.
That's okay. I'll just stick my arm out.
Good evening. The first group that we would like to congratulate tonight on being selected to the Indiana Bandmasters Association 2020 All-State Honor Band. Students were selected by live audition and competed against dozens of Indiana students. At this time, I will turn it over to the director, Mr. Smith, for the presentation of students.
Yeah, the one student who's here with us tonight is Andrew Huffman. So if you'd like to And then we also had
Andrew, you gotta get a picture in, Andrew.
I was
Towards
asked to
this way.
take pictures.
Didn't you also get a big scholarship to Ball State, or are you going to Ball State? I'm going to Ball State. Ball State, you study music, yeah.
Congratulations.
What's your instrument? Trombone. There you go.
Andrew, do you do anything special to keep that embouchure going?
Playing a lot.
I won't say that one of your principals played trombone or tuba about 30 years ago. Next group we would like to congratulate is the 2020 Indiana High School Handbell Choir. This is the third annual Indiana All-State Hand Choir. Students were selected from a video audition and competed against dozens of students in Indiana. Mr. Nathaniel Jones will present these awards.
All right, so there are 8 students who participated. Those of them who are here, I'll call their name. You can come forward. Kelly Williams. One per picture. Kayla Longfield. Tiffany Richerim. Hope McKinney. Isabella Tanis.
There you go.
All positioning. There's none other here that made it. All right. So these are your handbell all-state choir from Lake Central representatives.
You guys come through this way so we can congratulate yourself.
Congratulations.
Good job.
Good job. Super job.
Good job, Joel.
Congratulations.
Next up, we have Mr. Newton and Ms. Lopez from Kaler.
I'm happy to announce that we had 2 students who made the junior all-state band at Kaler, who we are extremely proud of.
These students went through a rigorous audition process and were part of a 100-piece band selected from students all over the state of Indiana. So it was quite an honor. It's my pleasure to award this to Callie Reardon. Who is a 7th grader. So the selection process, eligibility-wise, was for 7th, 8th, and 9th graders.
Excellent.
So she's a 7th grader.
And what's her instrument?
Bass trombone. Nice. And the second award goes to Max Peller.
Why don't you two guys get it?
Yes,
Okay.
please.
Oh, that's fine.
Thank you. Absolutely.
Good job.
All right, so that concludes our recognition for this evening. You're welcome to stay for the remainder of our meeting, but if you have to get home to do homework or other things, this is a good time to depart. Thanks for coming.
You have to stay. Thank you. We can move on. Dr. Rocco.
Okay, my second item is to just review for the board our trip to Indianapolis last Monday afternoon. Mrs. Gramala and our special education attorney, Monica Conrad, as well as Jane Winkoff from the Northwest Special Education Co-op, went down to visit, mainly with Dr. McCormick, because we wanted to share with her some concerns we had about a recent hearing examiner decision that included some statements that weren't backed up based on the facts of the case. We were fortunate to get an hour of Dr. McCormick's time, along with our Chief of Staff, Kelly Whitman, Dana Long, their Special Education Director, and Andrew Bernlohr, their in-house counsel. We shared, that we rarely end up in these hearings of this type, because if we make small errors, we try to make good on them and clean them up and do right by everyone involved. And we also acknowledge that even though we didn't agree with the hearing examiner's decision, we're doing everything that we can to implement the decision that was made. The reason we wanted to talk to these folks in Indianapolis is because we needed them to understand the trickiness of the situation. I think that we did a pretty good job of explaining our biggest concerns, that the hearing examiner was not well trained or well equipped to handle a hearing of this complexity. She didn't do a good job of laying out the case, the part that we were going to focus on in the end of the week-long hearing. After the family and their attorney had 4 days, the hearing examiner said we only have 1 day left, so you guys need to shorten up your testimony because we're getting this done today. Our attorney, Monica, did do a nice job of explaining how an effective hearing examiner would set up these hearings in advance so that things run more smoothly. Dana Long, who's also an attorney, their special ed director, acknowledged that she saw a lot of things problematic, acknowledged that she had read the decision, acknowledged that some of the decisions and the statements made don't line up completely with free and appropriate public education. For instance, our student was placed on partial homebound despite the fact that the student was successful with same-age peers last year. And so there are some problems. I just wanted the board to know that we did deem our trip to Indianapolis a success. We felt that we opened their eyes to some of the issues. And while it won't change anything for us in this particular case, we do think it's important that they pay attention. I'm going to call on Mrs. Gramala to share some information she received a couple days after we got back about them forming a couple of committees to really review the process, if you don't mind, Becky.
Sure. So it was actually a couple hours after we got back. In the last legislative session, a work group was formed to look at the educational dispute resolution process. They're calling it the EDR work group. And so that's been kind of stalled. Nothing has really been happening with it. And a couple hours after our meeting, Jane Winkoff, the director for NISEC, who went with us, received a message that they are forming two study groups as part of this EDR. One to look at a two-tiered system, which is what the state used to have in place. So if we got a hearing decision that we didn't agree with or we felt was unfair, there was another layer that we could appeal that decision to. They've gotten rid of that second layer, and now our only option is to go to federal court. And the federal courts really don't want anything to do with these types of cases. So, so they're forming a group to look at going back to some type of two-tiered system, but they're also forming a group to evaluate the data on our current system and look more closely at the decisions that are coming out. And it could be coincidence that happened directly after our meeting, but I feel like we made the points we needed to make and got the right people to listen to us. So again, like Dr. Rocco said, it doesn't change our current situation. There's nothing we can do to override that decision. But we were able to share our concerns and hopefully move things in a better direction.
Okay, any discussion?
So if you have any follow-up questions on that, we can do that either via email or at a future meeting. My final item tonight is just to open a discussion with the board regarding COVID-19, the form of coronavirus, and how it could impact us in schools. Most of you know that I did send out some information to our school community on Friday after school, really mainly information that would apply to any type of flu and how to try to prevent these types of situations through frequent washing of hands and so forth. I learned a lot about these coronaviruses last week by doing a fair amount of research. Of course, early data is skewed and has some people terrified, and as time goes by, it sounds like the worst part of this is how easy it spreads. And so, there'll be ongoing debate about how deadly it might be. You've heard some people in the federal administration say, the flu has killed a lot more people. True. But I think our concern is just the potential for widespread illness and high absenteeism. I don't know what our number would be. If you recall, we had an outbreak of something at Pfeiffer several years ago, and in hindsight, we believed that about half the people stayed home for fear that the first half of the people were sick, and then they thought maybe there was something wrong with the building, and so then we had a higher absenteeism. We did a deep cleaning and came back to school, and our attendance was back to normal really quickly. But that's the conversation I wanted to open today. In response to my message to the public, I did receive a handful of responses asking about e-learning or tele-learning, as Betsy DeVos likes to call it. And of course, I've been reluctant personally and have not seen enough data for even our administrative team to be convinced that it is beneficial. Certainly, my concern would not be a day here or a day there, but I would be concerned about how effective it can be several days in a row. I've always been somebody who believes our teachers are really important to student learning. I believe that their ability to share things in a multitude of ways, re-explain the instructions or the methodology on how to solve a problem in a different manner is what makes us effective. And so I'm always disappointed when even my own kids have a sub, because I know the same thing isn't going to be accomplished. And that's my concern with 2.5 hours of work over a blog. I know it can be effective. I just don't think it is as effective. But I did want to bring it up with the board because we are going to have to start thinking about our plans of the past and how do they, in particular apply to this. Right before we came into our work session earlier, I noticed I had an email from my director at the superintendent's group who got some information from the federal level on a variety of these sort of thresholds and stuff like that. So we'll continue to look at it, but I just wanted to open it up to the board to share any thoughts or concerns they might have as we continue to study this. And I'm hopeful that, you know, a lot of it, even if it exists, the symptoms don't knock people down and make them really ill. Because depending on who you believe, it sounds like there may be a lot of cases, but like a lot of other things, those cases can be over here on the spectrum, or they mild, or they could be severe with that same bug. So I'd open it up now to anything the board wants to say or ask or comment.
Dr. Bracco, I just want to add, this afternoon, I'm not sure if you got it directly, but Lisa Tenzel from the School Board Association sent us an email with
I
the
did
legal
receive that.
ramifications that potentially might be involved. As another source of information, if necessary, we need it.
Well, I think the more information we have, the better we can do to think through how we want to approach it, should we get it here.
Yeah. I think the biggest concern is, you know, it's no vaccine right now, but when will that be available? You know, I know it's supposed to go through trials, but it's just how many weeks out are we from an actual working?
I think that, you know, from what I was reading last week, that's quite a ways out, but the bigger concern will be, what about the therapies? What about anything we can do to minimize the symptoms for people who do get sick? And that's where I'm hoping they can ramp that up a lot faster versus a vaccine.
I'm glad you're talking about it and getting a plan together. That's rather important.
Well, we sent the email on Friday not to try to scare anybody, but really just to let them know we are paying attention and that we really believe, like with a lot of other things, there's and all the other flus that are out there can be avoided with frequent hand washing and certain other things of avoidance. And unfortunately, in schools, we're close to each other. And that's why there's always a chance for it spreading there more than in some other areas. But we'll continue to have this information compiled, and we'll keep looking at, as Howard said, what Lisa Tansel sent us, and then what I received also from the federal government, and we'll continue to look at it and try to formulate in our policy, if you will, at what point would we say, okay, we have too high of absenteeism to go on because too many students would be missing out on the valuable learning. So that really is my biggest concern. Or if we had a high absenteeism among our staff that we couldn't really carry on effectively.
So how hesitant it's been this winter? I know like some of the schools, Rensselaer in that area, they closed because of high absenteeism, not related to the coronavirus, but other flu type.
Yeah, they're mentioned in, I think, one of Betsy DeVos's piece about using e-learning to be able to close the school in order to see if when they came back, they could have better attendance. As I said before, my concern is just day after day, I'm just not sure if that can be anywhere near as effective as us just biting the bullet and coming back for a week at the end of May.
Right. So when Rensselaer closed their schools, they had a high absentee rate. We haven't had any problems at all with the winter.
Not to
flu?
speak of.
Okay, that's good. I hadn't heard that we had any excessive absenteeism, so that's good. Okay.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Before
Oh,
we
no.
move on, excuse me, Cindy, before we move on, 7A3.
Right.
Now, before we move on,
Board policy updates.
He's gonna do the board policies.
yeah, 7A3, yeah, so I skipped that item and I apologize. So my third item was to ask for board approval of board policies A through F. These are the policies that we reviewed at our work session 2 weeks ago, and I seek board approval in their entirety.
Move to approve.
We have a motion, and do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion? All right, all in favor, say
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? All right, motion carries.
Thank you, Lori.
Yeah, I abstained on that one, sorry.
All right, very good. And now we'll move on to the Director of Human Resources Personnel, Mrs. Mucha.
Thank you, Mrs. Suze. We're recommending that the following be approved. I also want to draw your attention to Shirley Bakowski, our head nurse, retiring after 17 years of dedicated service.
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. In your packet, you'll see a memo from Christian Flores requesting that the 2 permanent sub-drivers at the bus barn, they've been there 4 to 5 years, and they've taken on the responsibility of bringing permanent sub-drivers. He would like to give them $21 an hour while driving, and while working around the office, keep them at the same $19 an hour. And they've been very faithful employees, and it seems like a good...
And they drive nearly every day.
Almost every day they drive, yes.
Is there a motion?
A motion to approve?
I'll second that motion.
All right, we have a motion and we have a second. Any discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you. I also wanted to bring to your attention the census timeline that we passed out to the administrative staff. We started with a very thorough talk by a representative from the Census Bureau, and he was kind enough to give us some information and some materials to pass out to the schools. So we combined what is going to happen on a national level along with what we would like to do in our schools, which, as you know, Dr. Baracco has already sent out a column on this, and we're going to have a lesson taught during the month of March that are all provided. Actually, they've done a very nice job of providing lessons for us on the Census Bureau website. We have some flyers to go out in the newsletter, and we have some banners to be put up in the yard. It's important for our people to know the census counts for us and is very relevant for us as a school system. So these are the things that we will be doing to help out that census. Any questions on that?
Where did you say the banners were going to go?
In front of each school.
Each school.
Outside?
Yes.
Outside, okay.
Mhm. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Before we move on, I'd like to make a comment. Linda?
Yes, sir.
You brought up an issue prior that you had, excuse me, I'm not quite sure how you phrased it, but you had a question as to your status. We did investigate that, as Dr. Baracco has indicated, and amongst the board's vote is our discussion based upon what we found out. So that's inherent in the personal recommendation being passed. So you're submitting a letter of resignation. That has been accepted. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on to the Director of Primary Education, Mrs. Schoen.
Thank you. My first item is to seek your approval of the professional leave requests that were included in the packet.
So moved.
We have a motion by Dr. Malka.
Second?
Second. Any comments?
I just had a question. I see we're doing Tang now.
We're not doing Tang. Greg Tang is a math educator.
Oh, that's his name.
Yes.
Tang.
Yeah.
Okay.
We've
All right.
had him visit several times before, and he does inquiry math. So,
Okay.
yeah, it's not
I knew that I had heard it before, but
he's been around for a while.
okay. All right. Thank you.
All right, any other questions? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. My second item, actually my second and third, I have asked some of the Protsman counselors to come and share some of the good things that are going on at Protsman. The first one is the elementary sensory walk. While we're waiting to see if we can get the video going, I will share with you that we do have a sensory walk in all 6 of our elementaries. the elementary staff designed it based on, they got ideas from different schools. And then our print shop was actually the one that fabricated it for all of the city buildings.
Oh, wow. Nice.
And I hope we can get the video going because you really can't fully enjoy it without seeing kids
Yes,
go through it.
and we asked 2 students to go through it, and they loved it, and it was very fun, so I really hope we get it working. But,
And this is Megan Morales.
yes, nice to meet you,
counselor
good
at
evening.
Princeton.
I just want to give you a little background on it, that the sensory walk, I was actually asked by Ms. Vasquez, our resource teacher, and our 2 speech teachers, Ms. Rodriguez and Ms. Luvano, to participate in sticking down the stickers and setting it up, which was a lot of fun to, come together and collaborate. And then I know that I've brought many students down there and that they've brought small groups down there of their students, and they let them run through it. They can go through it again, sit quietly and wait for the others. So it's utilized by all different students and even adults, because I've done it myself. It can be done in under 5 minutes. This video lasts maybe about 2.5 to 3 minutes, probably not even that. The girls went really fast. It's a creative and playful way for students to develop nerve connections within the brain pathways responsible for our 5 senses. It encourages self-regulation by engaging the sensory system through necessary movement breaks, which we're trying to switch over to calling them intervals, because your brain's not really taking a break. We're still thinking and moving while we're working. To promote that attentiveness and self-control in the classroom. The benefits, it obviously benefits the students in developing those motor skills, such as balance, hand-eye coordination, and spatial awareness. So a lot of our students with disabilities can even go and practice those movements, hand-eye coordination, balance. It provides vestibular and proprioceptive inputs. The vestibular is like within the inner ear and your balance and movement. And then proprioceptive, of course, just your body movement and positioning. It's designed with various movements and actions and an exercise obstacle course type of fashion. So there's wall push-ups, what we like to call our panther crawl, numbered flower petal that's in a circular ring. So we tell the kids to pretend like you're a buzzing bee from flower to flower. An A to Z hopscotch. So for the littles, they'll recognize those letters as well as they're playing hopscotch. And then log jumps, where they can pretend to be a frog, jump from log to log, or just jumping across a creek and more. This is encouraging cognitive functioning and reducing those sensory-seeking behaviors that we're seeing in the classroom. That way it can create a calm and positive environment which promotes learning. We've got quite a team up here.
Now you got the director of technology.
That's wonderful.
Now you want to watch out now.
You put Rick on the spot there.
Yeah.
So as we're exploring neuroplasticity and the way the brain works, then, the importance of the movement to augment the learning that happens, this could be a key part of it, the movement.
Absolutely.
Like the teachers, the kids are testing all afternoon, they could bring students down then?
Of course, for those brain intervals. I know a lot of teachers have noticed students maybe getting angry or upset or those, major emotions inside the classroom, and they'll tell them, go walk to the sensory path. That walk already removes them from that situation,
Right.
And then doing those movements kind of helps them self-regulate, reset, and then come back and be ready to learn.
Do they go by themselves or does someone go with them?
Some of them go by themselves. I know one teacher has had like a buddy system where another student will go with them who's calm and can talk if they want to talk. If not, they're just running through it. I myself have taken many students, so I know some teachers take them as a class, or they did when we first laid it down, just to try it out and practice.
When you say they run through it, but you're just using that term to mean they go
Yes,
through it.
they're
They
not.
walk.
They're actually doing the actions. I mean, when I go down there with the students, sometimes I do have to slow them down, like push that wall as hard as you can, like as if you're going to move it, and it helps them get that force out, that anger.
Right.
Buzz like a bee and go from step to step. As I'm doing it too, it encourages them to do it.
So where did this idea come from?
We actually were trying to determine where it originally blossomed here at. I think when some principals and some of our staff went to some of the whole child summit and those different things, that's where they learned about it. There's lots of videos on YouTube of different schools that do it, so that's where we kind of got our ideas of let's put this together and let's take that from that one, and that's how we created ours.
So then every elementary school does it.
So do we have a peace room at the middle schools and the high schools then, so that they have somewhere to debrief?
Actually, Mrs. Castaneda actually just talked with us last week about putting the sensory walks in at the middle school and where
good locations within the middle school and B's. We're looking at doing something similar there.
Does that go up to the middle school level though? I don't see middle schoolers wanting to buzz like a bee from flower to
I think
flower.
it just, it would be a different
Right.
type of activity or a different, you know, the decals you'll see on the floor, those can look different depending on the age of the student. And then the prompts you would use for the students to walk through it would differ too, obviously.
And then I would think I would have a little more concern with middle schoolers and high schoolers being a little more hormonal, just asking them to go on that walk on their own. That
Yeah,
is
and they
their
would
supervision.
likely
is their,
need to be supervised.
Right.
They're also investigating.
There we go.
All
right. All right.
What were you saying, Nate?
Wonderful, thank you.
Amygdala reset kits, and those are a little bit more appropriate for middle school and high school. They have a variety of things in them, but it's the same thing. It's the sensory.
I'm somewhat
and,
hearing, yeah.
Getting them to focus on something other than their emotions, bringing them down. So that's another thing that they are looking at.
So if we have this and we have the yoga that some of the teachers are doing, then the mindfulness is being.
And the mindfulness that they do in class. Okay, yay.
Let me follow the sound. Can you get the lights again? I'm sorry. I'm sorry, yeah, I gotta follow the audio cable now, so.
Thank you.
What'd you say? Very long, as soon as I find some.
We are high-tech at LC. We are.
By
Too
Gino.
many choices.
This is out. You see it, don't you?
Yeah.
Now I hear it.
I think they found the audio.
Just pay attention to the girls, not so much my voice.
Hi, girls. Today, our friends Addie and Aubrey are going to help us run through
No,
the
you're fine.
sensory
I
path.
appreciate it.
All right, in the beginning part, we start with our star jumps. Go ahead, Miss Addie. Our outline's a square. They do stars in the air, come back down and hop from space to space. Brings us to our next zigzag jumps or side to side jumps.
Remember, this will tire you out.
They focus on stepping on just the rectangles. We have our wall push-ups. For that pressure. And our log jumps where they can hop like a frog or just hop from log to log. We do a little alphabet hopscotch with letters. All the way down to our zigzag walk. They go low to the grass, like green, and high to the sky for blue. Which leads us to our panther crawl. On the hands and feet.
This will tire you out.
More wall push-ups.
She's so cute.
And they'll follow our footsteps that tell us to go to our flower power circle. Some of the kids like to buzz like bees from flower to flower. Our changing position ski jumps. Some more hopscotch feet. A few star steps, and then high fives to finish it.
Remember, this will tire you out.
Good job, girls.
Aw. Thank you. Thank you very much.
And what does the research say that this helps the kids with?
It helps, well, I'll let Megan.
So it's gonna help them reset with their self-regulation. It gives them kind of that break when they're sensing or having those high sensations or emotions, and they get to remove themselves from that situation. Maybe it's in class, maybe something triggers it, maybe somebody says something. A lot of it has to do with like trauma too that kids have gone through, or maybe they present right at school on a daily basis, and then they can go and do this movement, take a little break from the classroom, reset, come back, and be ready to learn.
And where would I find the research on that, I guess? I want to look into that more. Where would I find something about that?
Well, I know that I had a lot of training and information given by Dr. Lori, so that was all good resources. I mean, I have that and can share, or I know that Teresa has it as well and can share it all about neuroplasticity and trauma.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And next, another counselor from Proxman, Kim Buchanan, is going to share information on their peer mentoring program that they recently began.
Mrs. Sapita, our building principal, approached myself and our previous school counselor to start a peer mentoring program at Proxman. So we began in September kind of brainstorming, and we came up with the Proxman Pause peer mentoring program. Oh, I can't, where's the clicker? The purpose of the program is to make the mentors to make a positive impact at Proxman, to make connections with the students, to serve as a positive role model, to uplift the self-esteem of the mentors and the students as well, to provide the importance and confidence in the mentors as well as working with the students the mentors are working with, building those relationships with all the students and teachers, and teaching and mentoring the social skills and interactions. It's also important for the mentors as well to learn those social skills while they're mentoring the younger students. So we started this program, we started handing out applications in September, and by October we had our mentors. We have 27 fourth grade peer mentors, and they mentor kindergarten, first, second, and third. We have different grade levels. We have 2 kindergarten classrooms that they're in, 5 first grade, 3 second grade classrooms, and 1 third grade classroom. Our peer mentors, the 27 students, went through 6 weeks of training. So we began in October, we ended in November, and they went into the classroom, and this is all student-led. They do it all on their own. They know exactly what they need to do. So when they're in their classrooms, they're either working one-on-one with students who need the extra help and attention, working in small groups, helping with sight words and flashcards, playing math games, language arts games, listening to the students read, helping with writing sentences, sounding out words. They do a wide variety of things with the students in the classroom. And we've also had one mentor that went above and beyond. We were having, I have a particular third grader that was having a very difficult time doing work and completing work. And so we asked the peer mentor if he would come down to the office to help the student, and they sat side by side. That mentor sat they both sat side by side with each other and helped him completed the work that he needed to complete. So here's some pictures of the training in progress. Their first day jitters. I happened to be in the classroom while they were introducing themselves. They had a little sheet that they filled out to introduce themselves, what grade they were in, what teacher they had, and if they had that particular teacher, if they were in second or first grade or third grade. They introduced themselves as well. Some of the mentors in action going over sight words. I happened to catch the group coming back from their mentoring, and then I have another fourth grader at the bottom. They're working with 2 students working on sight words as well in first grade. Each mentor has a lanyard, and that's like the best thing ever for them. They put that lanyard on, and they beam from ear to ear. Their name is on the front. On the back, I didn't take a picture of the back, but on the back it has the teacher that they're mentoring, the classroom that they're in, the time and the day. They know exactly when they need to go. They have a schedule. They know it religiously, and once they walk out that classroom door, that lanyard is on, and we know exactly what they're doing and where they're going. These are some of the comments the teachers have sent me via email. Again, it's nothing but positive. The teachers love them. The students absolutely love the mentors that are in the classroom. When they see them in the hallways, they smile, they wave. And the fourth graders as well, they love doing this. They are very excited to make that connection with these younger students. And here's some more comments as well. To be a peer mentor, they have to fill out an application and why they want to be a peer mentor. And so we go through that. It's again, fourth grade teachers are given a hard copy. They pick out the students that they think would be best for the program or who would benefit from the program, and they send them out. And this year we had 27, and we took all 27 this year. And then they get a congratulations letter that's sent home that they have been accepted by the program, into the program, and kind of details the training process and when we would begin. And we did it during their recess time once a week for 6 weeks. We did it. And then there are expectations and what a peer mentor should do, having good attendance, being on time on class, demonstrate those high expectations for the students, interact with the students outside of the classroom as well. Go ahead. And then the rules and expectations as well. We have the student sign it and the parent sign it as well, so that the students are held accountable. The fourth grade students are held accountable to be a positive role model, not to have any missing assignments, to not have any office referrals, and have good grades as well. And then a photo release to take pictures throughout so that we can put them on our website and on the district website. And then closer towards, when we wrap the peer mentoring program up, my plan is to have the teachers that have their mentors to fill out an evaluation for them, and see what things can be done differently, because this is the first time that we're doing this program, and I can't wait till next year, because I know that the young kids who are in third grade that see it now, they already want to do it in fourth grade. So that's what we've been doing.
Do the peer mentors go down on their recess? Is that when they volunteer in those classes? What do they miss?
We work around the fourth grade classroom schedule. So a lot of them go between 8:30 and 8:45, or they go from 12:15 to 12:30. So they miss 15 minutes of their recess time. And the kids don't mind doing that. They're doing something else. They're helping someone else in the building that needs that extra attention. So they don't mind giving up 15 minutes of their recess time, and it's once a week for them to do that.
Thank you. So I have a question. Do you talk anything about community service, try to bring that term in so that they're familiar with community service? And
not yet. This is our first time. This is our pilot program, so we've, we're just getting our feet wet doing this.
Right. I mean, just an idea, because you know how important that community service is, and even though it's within a school, but kind of jumpstarts them for where we want them to be.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to our Director of Secondary Education, but I see she's not here, Mrs. Castaneda.
I am going to take over.
Thank you, Mrs. Schoen.
She would like me to seek your approval of the professional leave requests that were included in the board packet.
So moved.
We have a motion.
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. And for her second item, seek board approval for the field trip requests that were also included in the packet.
Move
So
to
moved.
approve? Oh, go ahead. I'll second that.
So we have a motion was that Dr. Malkow?
Mhm.
All right. Now we have a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. So now we'll move on to our Director of Student Services, Mrs. Grimala.
My first item is to seek your approval for the professional leave request that was included in the board packet.
So moved.
We have a motion by Ms. Lessentine and
Second.
second by Mr. Baxo. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
And for my second item, I'm going to invite Mrs. Tucker up to talk about the Title I Family Math Night that was recently hosted for our 3 Title I schools, which would be Protzman, Piper, and Holman.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Good evening, members of the board and administration. Mrs. Grimala asked me just to tell you a little bit about our family Title I math night that we had. So the 3 of us, the 3 Title I schools got together, Holman, Piper, and Protzman, and decided to organize a family math night. We've done these in the past. It's really always hard for us to get good attendance, and you'll see that on the sheet that I gave you. But you know, we try every year. We do our best. This year we decided to do primary only, so we did just kindergarten, first and second, trying to get those younger ones in. It was at Protzman on February 19th from 6 to 7. And a big thanks goes out to Lisa Alessandri, our math coach at the elementary level. She put some games together for us, and they are on the back of your paper also, so you can see what we had there for them. Then we had teachers come to prepare everything and get it ready for the parents, and then they facilitated the games. And they taught the parents how to play the games, help the kids out. When the families came, they had a variety of games to choose from at each level. Kindergarten had 3 different games, first had 4, and second had 4 games. Of course, they could move within the levels, and it was a family night, so older kids could have came with them also. When the parents were leaving then we had games for them to take. So kindergarten had 3 games to take, first had 5 games, and second grade had 3 games. They were simple, like we didn't have a bunch of pieces for them, but there were things they could use at home. They could take these games, play them at home, and they could use either beans or cards to play these games. It seemed like everybody that was there really enjoyed it. One thing that I feel like really tells us they enjoyed it is they came and they stayed for the entire hour. It wasn't like they came, they picked up the games, and were out. We did have them fill out a short survey, and I put some information on your sheet of what they said from the survey. All the comments were, they were very positive. They said they enjoyed the night. Like I said, the only disappointing thing for us is I know I had 17 respond at Holman that were going to come. Mr. DeLauder said he had 17 respond, and I think Mrs. Cepeda said she had like over 70 that were going to come, and you can see on the sheet that our attendance was not what we're hoping for. But I have to say the people that were there, they seemed to enjoy themselves. And it was a good night, and they asked a lot of questions, and they appreciated us being there for them. So,
Was there any follow-up with the parents that said that they were going to come but didn't come to find out why they didn't attend? Why they said that they would but did not? Did we get any follow-up?
We didn't, and I'll be honest with you. We have other Title I nights like within our own schools, I know, and it seems to be. Sadly enough, if I attach the word fun fair to it, I think I get a better attendance, but it just seems like we get people that want to come, and I don't know why they, when the time comes, they don't show up. And we send the information out often and, early and often, and then I send you the reminders through school messenger too. And it is different now because our schools are whole school title, so it's not like we can only identify title students. We can invite like all of kindergarten, all of first, all of second. So we really try. I know in the past we've even done when it was okay for us to provide them dinner. We had dinners, and we still don't get the attendance that we would hope for. But we'll keep trying.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks.
What time was your event?
It was at 6 o'clock, 6 to 7. If we do it too much later, it's for the younger
Right,
ones.
right.
I mean, we've had them at 6:30
That
before.
sounds like an appropriate time right around there.
So.
I just wonder if you did have the snacks, can you provide snacks or something just in case?
We cannot use any Title I funds to pay for food.
There was one year.
At one time they could.
We provided them with pizza, a full dinner, pizza, dessert, salads, and the turnout still wasn't what we had hoped for. I mean, we had more respond that say they were going to come, and then they didn't show up. But
That's great. You've got some great results here. It's I know maybe.
But like I said, the people that came stayed the whole time. That was good to see because sometimes people come to things and they play for like 15 minutes and then they're out the door. They didn't. They stayed the whole time. In fact, it was a few minutes after 7 and they were still playing and finishing up and thanking us on the way out.
February 19th, was the weather good?
Yeah.
It was. Yeah, we even talked about it that night. Like
Mhm.
it was a clear night, no snow, ice, nothing. So it just, I'm sure people, I know for me, once I get home,
you have grand intentions of doing other things, and sometimes you get home and it's just, you don't feel like leaving again, but.
We'll keep trying.
Yes. Okay, very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Ledger.
Thank you, Mrs. Seuss. I just have a couple items to update the board on tonight. My first item is the NIPSCO infrastructure modernization project in the town of Dyer. On February 21st, the town manager and the public works director, as well as NIPSCO's regional manager, invited me to attend a pre-construction meeting held at the town of Dyer Hall to kind of go over what they're calling their infrastructure modernization project. It's in South Munster a little bit, mainly in the Briar Ridge area, as well as a lot of the Protsman, Dyer area. As Mrs. Sapita knows, that area, if the wind blows wrong, they lose power. It's an antiquated system, so their infrastructure, they're going to replace almost 18 miles of underground cable throughout that Dyer area, as well as many transformers. The transformers will be studied on an as-need basis as they're doing the cabling. This project is going to start a week from today on March 9th and go all the way till the first week of November. They'll be working in and around the Protsman area, not on the Protsman property. That area around Protsman will be from March 9th till June 5th. Really, the only coordination with us will be basically they'll have to have a couple outages as they upgrade the equipment and lines throughout that neighborhood. They'll coordinate that with me to make sure it will not disrupt any of the school activities. But you'll see a lot of activity around there. I informed them about our arrival and dismissal times, so that, you know, Harrison gets very crowded and backed up, so that they understand that. So they're going to try to coordinate their schedule as well to accommodate our arrival and dismissal. It really shouldn't affect us, other than once they're finished, we shouldn't have those outages that we've had numerous times in the last few years. So I just want to update the board on that. Any questions?
You said March 9th till?
Yes, it started a week from today.
Until when?
The total project goes till November 6th. They should be out of the Protsman area June 5th.
Thank you.
If all goes accordingly.
Right.
Again, it's almost 18 miles of underground cable, though. That's a lot.
Wow, it is.
Any other questions? Next is just a further update on the new parking lot at Holman. The last meeting I updated you kind of where we were at the town. The construction drawings are finished. My surveyors have been out at Holman for the last couple of weeks, and they should finish up their field work this week. And we hope to have the survey that the town is requiring done by the 20th of this month, and then we will give it to the architects to do a drainage plan that the town is requiring as well. We hope to have that done the 27th. And then all that goes accordingly. I will be attending a study session on April 6th at the town to kind of start the process of this one plot subdivision. This is probably going to take us through the end of June, but as I said at the last meeting, they're going to let us go ahead and issue the permit, and so we can start in June, and then we'll just kind of clean up this site for them. This is stuff that's been since Holman existed. They just kind of want to take this opportunity to clean up the site. So we should be fine. And the bid date is March 31st for that project.
Do you know how many parking spaces?
55.
55 more?
It's going to add 55 more spaces.
Okay.
And this is where that home,
Yes.
the site.
Yes, and that's part of the town as well. We have to rezone that parcel because that was zoned for residential. Yes. The house that we tore down last summer.
Sounds good. It'll be really nice. This is such limited parking there.
Yeah, it's going to be a nice addition for Holman, and the town's excited too because they use our lot for their festivals at Reeder Park and everything else. So it's going to add a lot to Holman and the town.
Good.
That's all I have.
Thank you. And I know you have nothing under your agenda item, but did you have anything, Mr. Marino?
I do not. Thank you.
You're here, just open it up. All right, we'll move on to Director of Business Services, Mr. James.
Thank you, Mrs. Seuss. All I have is to seek your approval for the donations that were listed in your board packet.
Move to approve.
We have a motion by
Second.
Ms. Lessentine and a second by Mr. Marshall. Any questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign? Hearing none, motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, now we'll move on to our public comments. Mr. David Quinn.
Good evening. My name's David Quinn. I'm a current Lake Central bus driver with Lake Central School Corporation. I was here at the last school board meeting in regards into some pay issues as far as time worked being time paid. And I'm just wondering where we are at with these issues. I have not heard from any of the school board members or any of my administrators that I currently work under, such as the Director of Transportation. I just want to let you guys know I am a graduate of Lake Central. I'm very proud of what I do. I have a lot of pride for this school system. So I'm willing to take the risk here to stand in front of you guys today, to take the risk to stand up for what is right. The current Lake Central mission statement of Lake Central School Corporation asks me to be a contributing and responsible citizen. I'm asking the school board for the betterment of the school bus employees to look into the matter, and these are the issues. Daily hours worked are not tracked. Our daily hours are set in August with dry roads and good weather conditions. Our time worked does not include any time before or after the buses return to the schoolyard or to the transportation facility. We are paid a pre-trip. However, by not tracking this as time worked or the time that it takes us to get back to our parking spots in the bus yard, we cannot accurately track on when a school bus driver would go over 40 hours in a work week. Other things that are not under time work, time paid, include as followed. Excessive wait time for fueling. We are ordering more propane powered buses or natural gas buses, and those take a little bit longer to fill. Excessive wait times could be anywhere from 15 minutes to 45 minutes, which drivers do not get paid for, to sit and wait to fuel our vehicles. Other issues that are not considered time work, time paid is stop arm violation paperwork. All of our buses in the fleet have stop arm cameras attached to our vehicles, so we can now fill out more accurate stop arm paperwork, but that does not fall under time work, time paid. Other concerns are route sheet corrections, parent phone calls, individual meetings with the Director of Transportation as far as student concerns or anything related to the department, and then also our administrative assistant and anything regarding payroll, field trips, whatever the case may be. I'm asking the school board to please look into these issues. Again, I haven't heard from anybody, so I just want to know where we have, are standing as far as these issues are concerned. I do have some information on my end. I have tracked 30 days of what I have worked, and the numbers are pretty astonishing, to be honest with you. So I'm willing to present that to you guys, or we can put it on the agenda for the next time the school board gets together so we can discuss it in further detail. Thanks.
So thank you for bringing
Yeah.
this to us. And
Yeah, absolutely.
can we facilitate a meeting with
Sure.
Dr. Baracco? And
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to. This isn't something that I am not wanting this to turn into back and forth this or that. I know what I should be getting as an hourly employee, and unfortunately I'm not getting it. So that's why I'm bringing it to the school board's attention.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So-
We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Linda Copeland.
I would like to thank the school board for looking into my item, but I'd like to know how you did the investigation if you did not contact me, ask me what went on. I have letters here from people. I have letters that I have wrote that was supposed to be in the central office that never made it here. I've talked to Terry about things. Items never came up here that I have that never. So I'd like to know how you did your investigation, but thank you for doing your investigation.
Linda, we reviewed your personnel file.
I'm sorry, sir?
We reviewed your personnel file. That's how we conducted the investigation.
You review my personnel file, there was 2 letters in there. There's a letter that I gave Christian back in December to give up here, to send up here. I talked to Terry about it, she never received it. Went back to Christian said he sent it up to main office. She said, he's got it, he's got it, she's got it, he's got it. This was it. I asked to look at my file. I was told I'm not allowed to look at my personnel file. I was told I was not allowed to look at my personnel file.
Actually, remember, we sent you your personnel file and you sat down, you said there was nothing you wanted copied from there.
There was 2 letters in there, I'm sorry, ma'am.
Remember?
There was 2 letters in there. Letters that was not signed, and on the bottom, after I have the original one here, I went to the office, and there was another one in there that had stuff on the bottom that she added to. I said, I don't appreciate being called a stupid steering wheel holder from another employee.
And this is why I added that, because you said you didn't want that on there, so I said you disagreed with being called that, and you were there when I wrote that on there.
No, I was not, because I've got the original copy that I have, ma'am.
Right.
I have the original.
Right.
You added that on after I left.
Well, I'm not sure that's the truth, but that is something you didn't want to be called, and that's what was added on there, that you did not agree with that. That's what's added on the paper.
Would you like to be called a stupid steering wheel holder?
No, that's why I said Linda didn't agree with that. That's what's written on the bottom of the
There's
letter.
other things that have been going on down at the bus barn that should be investigating, and I've talked to certain ones. They're afraid to come because they're afraid of what's going to happen to them, like what happened to me. I worked there how many years? I got 40 days sick leave, and you think that I'm happy with this? Fine, I'll walk away. But I don't think you guys did a very investigation, because she is not a biased person. I've gone to her about different things that has gone on, and she keeps on saying, whatever Christian wants, Christian can do. And even if it's wrong, look in your books, follow the rules. You don't have to follow the rules, and I guess then what do we have rules for? I've been told time and time again, I'll go on there and ask the question. I'll look into it. I'll get back to you. I'm still waiting for some of it. I just gave up. And I'm not the only one that feels this way. There's other people that feel this way, but they're afraid because there is no person that they can talk to. Because she could say, Christian can do whatever he wants, and that's what everybody thinks. We don't have no place else to go. Where do we go? Where do we go? If she tells you Christian can do whatever he wants, even if it's wrong.
I think Christian can run his department, but he runs it by his handbook.
No, he does not. No, he does not. I've got things that I could show you where he has not. And under that, Howard, good night. Hope you all have a nice evening. I know I can go tonight and go home to bed, knowing that I have a clean conscience, that I didn't lie to somebody. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on to board comments and consideration of future agenda items. Dr. Malkow, start with you.
You know, I would like to talk at some point in time about extracurricular stipends. So I don't know when that would happen. I would like some update information, like what the area schools are and when's the last time we had a raise for those. I would just like some information about those.
Okay.
That's it.
All right, Ms. Lessentine?
I like those sensory walks that we're doing. I would like to see some data to see, how many kids are using them, how often, is it helping, things like that. I think that's great things so that we can collect some data there. Find out, are we doing, what are we going to do at the middle school and the high school, because those are where I think there's a lot of kids who need that. They need those peace rooms or places where they can also turn and get some extra help. And then just some information. I know I haven't been here with things with my mom, so just some information on local assessments. I know that the state assessments weren't the best of the best, and I'm just wondering where are we at with local assessments then? How do we know how our kids are doing, things like that? So, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Baxel?
Just wanted to say thank you for the information, again, on the sensory walks, on the peer mentor program, and also the Title I information. And just good luck to our sports teams this week. I understand we have some teams, yeah, we have some sectionals and some other things going on this week, so I just wanna wish them good luck.
Thank you. Mr. Marshall?
Pardon me, yes, I have 2 items. I see Kathy is in the audience here. She made a presentation earlier. I'm gonna direct a inquiry to her. It may be premature, Kathy. Any update on the robot appearing at your school?
I can answer that if you want to.
Yeah,
Okay.
I have not really totally seen them in action yet.
We had training, so staff from the RoboKind, the company
Yeah.
that manufactures the robot, came and trained our staff. Last week was really our first full week using the robot with the students whose parents agreed for them to participate in the study. So I was able to see a little bit of one session and the student was really engaged. In 2 weeks, we're having a parent meeting where we've invited all the parents to come in so they're able to see Milo and see how he's going to interact with the students. So
We did have a little bit of technical difficulty with
Yes.
it last week, so I was
Yeah.
gonna go down there and see him in action, and I didn't have a chance. So.
yeah, so we're just getting everybody used to him and getting him up and rolling.
That's great. I think probably in the future you may have a video of it that could
Oh,
be
sure.
presented.
I have one on my phone of Milo dancing, if you'd like to see it. But
Excellent.
we will have, I already spoke with the teachers and we will have them come towards the end of the school year
I
and
appreciate
talk
that.
about their experience.
Right. The second item, I had the opportunity Thursday to attend the meeting at River Forest with our Department of Education Superintendent, Jennifer McCormick. And she had a good presentation. I'd like to pull out of that presentation an issue that occurred at the end of the meeting during question and answers. 2 parents from the community who happen to be members of the Gary School Corporation brought up an issue that I want to highlight, and that's communication. They personally felt that the line of communication to the parents of Gary is almost non-existent, and they didn't even know about the recent replacement of the, what's the correct terminology? It's not the
Emergency manager.
Emergency manager, thank you. They had no prior knowledge of that issue coming up, even though it may be justified, et cetera. But I want to tie that into our situation here at Lake Central, and that's communication. I'd like to compliment one of our board members, Dr. Janice Malkow. She makes sure all of us get a lot of information directed to our attention. And I think it's beneficial, and I want to give you credit for that, Janice.
Thank you.
That's all I have right now. Thank you.
And all I have is good luck to the boys basketball in their sectional. I think Matilda's playing this Friday and Saturday.
Thursday.
Thursday, excuse me, thank you. Sorry, that was.
Go ahead.
No, say gymnastics, they have regionals coming up, and then, I think the dance team, they maintain their state title, and we had some wrestlers that made state, and then we had some wrestlers that was at the Fresh Soft over the weekend that placed also, so
good.
congratulations to them, so.
So I just want to make sure because is it Quinn?
Yes.
Is your last name?
Yes, ma'am.
Has been here twice now, and so I understand that you, Dr. Rocco, will meet with him and talk and
Yeah, I'll talk to them after
get this.
this meeting.
Okay. I just didn't want to let that go for another 2 weeks, so. Thank you.
Thank you, and I will go back to Dr. Rocco.
Yeah, our next board meeting is here in 2 weeks on the 16th, and encourage everybody to check their calendars because there are still plenty of activities happening in our schools that are fun to attend.
And don't forget that on the 16th, the legislators are at 6 o'clock that night.
6 o'clock, please.
Okay?
Be there.
Call for adjournment.
We have a motion. We have a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.